Doot 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 doot. Well, LumberJillville perimeter check is good.
Boss Daddy has minimal contributions to LumberJillville according to my analytics. He must be eliminated.
Why do I get this eerie feeling that I'm being watched? Oh, well hello there, beautiful. You kind of crept up on me. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Boss Daddy.
Leave him alone.
What the frick? What is that? That's it, I'm going to get this thing. I'm getting payback for Judge Jade and Boss Daddy. You messed with the wrong town. Where did it go?
Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's Wrestling Lives here, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to rank every single WWE Mattel AJ Lee figure, at least as of October 2025, because she is back with the company. So I hope the future has a lot of Ultimate Editions and Elites of AJ. So fingers crossed, I really hope we see some announcements soon of some future AJ Lee figures. But yeah, I just wanted to celebrate her career, celebrate her past figures, and we're going to rank them today, starting at 6, going all the way to my personal number 1. Now, before we get started, I just remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figures. So, AJ Lee's figure rankings. You would think this would be very easy, but it's actually not, because in my opinion, she doesn't have a perfect figure, at least not yet. She's had a lot of really different ones, as you can see, a lot of different attires, but I think the likeness has been a struggle for Mattel to capture with AJ that hopefully they figure out in future figures. But I will say that she does have a Funko Pop that is one of the most sought after, rare, and expensive WWE Funko Pops ever. So make sure to eBay that, Google that, whatever you need to do to see what I'm talking about. It's really nothing special. Most Funko Pops are, pretty generic, pretty plain, pretty simple. I mean, it's so simple that they later repainted it and used it for the page. But either way, one day maybe I'll come across that AJ Lee Funko Pop to have in the collection. Now, that being said, let's get started in this countdown. Battle Pack Series 28 released in 2014. Now, it was tough. It was tough to rank this last because it's not the worst figure I've ever seen in my life. There's a lot to love about it, but there's also a lot not to love about it, right? It's just so plain. It's so simple. And of course, AJ Lee's known for her bright colors, her really cool attires, and this figure really doesn't give us that. Now, the biggest knock that I can say about this figure is the likeness is terrible. Now, all of her figures were way before True FX face scan technology, and you can really tell on a lot of her sculpts. In this one in particular, we do see this again, or we do see it in another series. But yeah, it just does not look like her whatsoever. It's just bizarre to me. I don't really understand why they went with that. I think there's other sculpts that they used before this one, which we'll get into, that were better. But yeah, the likeness is off. The hair sculpt is a little crazy. I think that's maybe the point, giving her the crazy hair sculpt. But it just doesn't really sit on her shoulders right. What I mean by that is this figure has no neck. I mean, the neck looks like it's gone. We have no neck AJ in this figure, and that kind of adds to the awkwardness there of the hair kind of floating. Now, the attire is pretty basic. At least we do have the jean shorts and the short top. And there's a lot of really cool sculpting work here that looks really good. But the t-shirt just doesn't really stand out. We have that Love Bites logo on it, but it isn't like a gray. We have a little bit of pink, but it really just doesn't stand out. We have these bracelets, black painted nails, and then we have AJ's signature Converse-esque boots. But yeah, this figure is 6th to me because it just really doesn't stand out, doesn't pop. If you have this on your shelf, it's not going to grab anyone's attention. And also this likeness, which we'll see again, is really, really bad. Basic Series 24, released in 2013. This was AJ's first figure, her first time in the line, if you will. And for a first figure, I think they did a pretty decent job here. I actually don't mind this figure, but there are some things I'm not a huge fan of. That's why it's number 5. Now, first off, I think the likeness is pretty decent, especially for the time. Now, once again, this is before TrueFX face scan technology. And the sculpt is so important on these AJ figures, and this is one of the better sculpts. We do see this again, and I think they made some changes and some details that really improved it. But for a first sculpt, for a first paint application on the face, I think the likeness is okay. You know, I think it is a little bit off, but for the time period, and as we'll see, it does get worse. But yeah, I think the likeness is okay. The light brown hair is all right. Now, the rest of the figure, the attire, let's talk about this. And the reason why it's number 5 is when I think of AJ Lee, I think of her shorts, her Converse-style boots, knee pads, her signature shirts with logos on them, right? We don't get any of that here. So I know Mattel does their research on AJ Lee, and I'm pretty sure when I did the figure history of AJ Lee figures, I found what this attire was from, but they didn't include the logo that was on the shirt. I'll have to double check that. But either way, this is not the attire I think of when I think of AJ Lee in WWE, right? There's no logos, no design, just a plain yellow sports bra top, and then plain blue leggings here, light blue, baby blue leggings. And that's just not the attire I think of when I think of AJ Lee. It is different, it's definitely unique, definitely stands out, but I think as you'll see in the countdown, it only gets better from here. But for a first time in the line figure, I really don't mind it. I also think it's cool that she actually came with the silver necklace piece here, accessory, and then the bracelets, which we'll get into the funny part about that later. But yeah, not a bad first figure, but there are so many better AJs. Basic Superstar Entrances Series 4, released in 2014. That was a mouthful. Now, I used to not be a big fan of this figure at all. It was my least favorite AJ for a long time, but it has grown on me. So yes, we do see that same sculpt that we saw on my number 6 figure, which I am just not a fan of whatsoever. I don't like the hair sculpt, don't like the face sculpt. Also, the way the head sits on the body, there's no neck. But the thing that really stood out and that has grown on me is the color of the attire. Like, yeah, the bottoms don't match the top. And being colorblind, that bothers me because I'm looking at it and I'm like, are they supposed to match up? Is it supposed to be the same shade of pink or orange or whatever that is? And I'm happy to say that I've learned to appreciate that it is a different color because this is a bright, vibrant figure. I absolutely love all the colors included. We have that pink top, we have like the neon shorts, we even have a different shade of pink on one of the bracelets there. And then the boots are kind of like a matte salmon or pink type color, but it looks really, really good. You know, it's different, it's unique, and most importantly, it stands out. It stands out on the shelf more than the previous 2 figures I covered, and I think that's why it is at number 4. But yeah, this has definitely grown on me. I think it's cool that we have all these different shades of pink, all these different colors. And yeah, I really do appreciate this pink shirt with the AJ Lee logo and the spider coming down. I think it's a pretty solid AJ figure, but we are getting better from here. Elite Series 21, released in 2013. This is AJ Lee's first and only Elite released by Mattel, but this is significant because this is only the third woman included in the WWE Elite line. We had Miss Elizabeth in Elite Series 19, and we had Kelly Kelly, the first women's Elite in Elite 17. Amazing figure. So yeah, this is a pretty important figure. Now let me ask you this question. What makes this AJ an Elite? Your guess is as good as mine because I can't figure it out, right? And what I mean by that is at this time, the women's basics had the same articulation as the women's elites, but the elites a lot of times had, soft goods attire, more extravagant entrance attire, or even accessories. This figure isn't much different than her other figures. A lot of her other figures, which were basic style figures, came with a necklace, came with bracelets, and yes, on the package of this figure it says comes with necklace and bracelets, but I don't see how that's an elite selling point because a lot of her other figures did. So it's weird. I wish she would have came with more, right? I think that's my biggest gripe about this figure being included in the Elite line. Now, the one thing that people might say makes this an Elite, or what might have made her go into the Elite line, is the attire. And the attire is beautiful. It is very detailed, very intricately painted with this green, neon green plaid. We have these really cool skulls on her tights and on her knee pads. I really, really love this attire. It probably is my favorite attire included on an AJ Lee figure, but another reason why it's not my top two is the likeness. This is the only time that they use this particular face sculpt, and I'm just not a fan. I've really sat and looked at it different angles, and it looks nothing like AJ Lee whatsoever. It's bizarre, and she's kind of got this little smirk. I don't know. It's just not a good sculpt in my opinion. But I think the attire definitely covers for that, and it definitely moves it to third in my countdown because this figure does look beautiful, and it really does pop on a display shelf. So for that, this is number 3. Basic Series 30, released in 2013. This might be a controversial pick. I know a lot of folks out there that have all of AJ's figures aren't a huge fan of it because of the plain attire. No logos on the top whatsoever. Now, there's a couple reasons why this is my number 2. Previously, this is my favorite AJ Lee figure, and here are my reasons why. This is my favorite likeness that they used on AJ's figures. Now, we only got this one other time. It was her first in the line figure. But that light brown that they used on her hair and her eyebrows, it looked off. So here that it's a jet black color and we have black eyebrows, I think this is the best likeness that we got of AJ. And I really don't think it's close. And that definitely is a reason why I love it so much. Also, when you compare it to her first in the line figure, this is the attire you think of when you think of AJ. You think of the shorts, you think of the half shirt there, you think of the knee pads, the Converse style boots. This is AJ's attire. This is what we think of when we think of AJ Lee prominently in WWE, right? So that's why, another reason this is number 2, and why that first time on the line figure didn't even crack my top 3, right? But yeah, I really do like this figure. I think it's the most solid AJ Lee figure, but number 1, as we'll get to, it's by far the best AJ Lee figure. I fought it for a while, but it's finally grown on me, and we'll get to that next. But yeah, I think this is a solid AJ Lee figure. I do wish there was more design, more detail on the top, because if they had more detail on that top, or they used a design or so, it would be the best AJ Lee figure, in my opinion, because I really like this sculpt. I like this likeness a lot, especially considering it's before the scanning technology, so this is definitely a solid AJ, but number 1, I think, wins by a mile. Basic Series 53, released in 2015. This tends to be everyone's favorite AJ Lee figure, and it was not my favorite previously. Years ago when I did the figure evolution of AJ Lee, this was not my number 1. But a lot of people in the comments just raved about this figure, and this figure to this day is a pretty sought after figure. Now, there are some reasons, but first let's get the negative out of the way. And really, it's the only negative on this figure, and that's that the face sculpt is freaking bizarre. It is weird. It looks so sad. She looks so depressed in this sculpt, and it looks nothing like AJ. Now, once again, this is before the scanning technology, so maybe the paint application on mine is a little bit off and really makes me not like it, But it looks weird. It looks bizarre. It definitely is not a good face sculpt whatsoever. I don't know what they were going for here. But that's the only negative. So let's get that out of the way. But the hair sculpt here is beautiful. It is really, really cool. It's like this matte black. Now, what really stands out about this figure is the attire. This shirt is freaking awesome. And also, it is a unique sculpt at the top, and then if you look at her midsection, she has a little bit of a sculpt. And fun fact, if you have the Legends Stacy Keibler and you take off that jacket, they actually use this chest in this midsection underneath that jacket on that Stacy Keibler figure, which is a weird fact, but they did. But yeah, I really like the unique sculpting that we have on the top and how the top goes down to the midsection here. I love that rib cage skeleton there with the spider coming down. There's just a lot of beautiful detail that I really didn't appreciate as much before that I really appreciate now. She has painted on wristbands there with some details. We have a really cool belt painted on. We have that signature jean short look. We have some detail on the knee pads. And then what I love about these Converse style boots is we obviously have the white toes, white soles, and then we have red laces. And there's even silver studs painted at the ends of the red laces. So yeah, this figure comes in first for me because all the detail, all the love that went into the attire, and all the unique sculpting here that I wish we would have got more. I wish we would have got more AJ Lee figures in the future with this sculpt, but maybe we will. But either way, this is definitely number one for me. It is a beautiful figure, and even though I'm not a big fan of the face, the attire definitely makes up for it. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Make sure to hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews. Thanks for watching, and have a great night, y'all.